The first lesson of economics is scarcity. There's never enough of anything to fully satisfy all those who want it. The first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics. Thomas Sowell. What's up, everybody? We back again for round 7. I'm almost done with Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell. I got about probably like 50 more pages. So next week, I'll be able to start diving into The Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Eustace Mullins. I'm actually excited to dive into this one so I can give you guys some updates on that. But anyways, let's keep this thing rolling. The national debt has went up another 100 billion since August 21st, I believe, a little more than 190 billion. Since then, the national debt is at $35.3 trillion. If we take a look at where we were at last week we were at 35.2 trillion. This week we're at 35.3. From last week until this week, we went up 79 billion. They got them money printers on. They keep printing that money, keep funding everything that they want to fund and filling their pockets up. Today, Bitcoin price is down a little bit. If you've been keeping up with the news, everyone's talking about Bitcoin is crashing. But if you guys are familiar with the volatility of Bitcoin, this is what it does. It reaches highs, it comes down, it reaches new higher highs, it comes back down, it reaches higher highs and comes back down. It's a very volatile asset. We're still in the beginning stages of Bitcoin. So it's only been around for a little over 15 years. So we're still in that phase where people are still catching on. So you can keep expecting this until we reach about 50% adoption, and we're not even tiptoeing between that 1 to 5% adoption. So a lot of people are aware of Bitcoin, but people still haven't fully adopted it, but there are progress is being made. So if we take a look compared to last week's price, last week we were at 58,000. This week we're at 53. When I wrote these numbers down, 53,970. So we're down about 4,000 compared to last week's price. If we take a look at the reachable nodes, I'm going to start combining reachable nodes with Tor nodes. Tor nodes, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with the Tor network, it's a way for you to be able to be online, have a lot more privacy online so people aren't watching what you do. When you go on just, Safari, Explorer, Firefox, or whatever you use, there's really no privacy in those internet browsers. So Tor is a way for you to kind of explore the internet with a lot more privacy. So I think that those nodes should be included as well. So I didn't include them this week, but I will be including those numbers next week. And I highly suggest all of you go and check out what Tor is, look more into it, and see if it's something that could benefit you. But compared to reachable nodes from last week, we were at 19,370. Compared to this week, we're down to 19,250. So we're down about 100 reachable nodes. Not bad. Let's continue to keep this thing rolling along. If we take a look at all the top assets by market cap, you see gold, Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, all those companies, and Bitcoin is still hovering around this 10th position. Berkshire Hathaway, good old Warren Buffett's company, they're right below Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's been hovering between Meta and Berkshire for a good little bit. So like I said, once it does start to leapfrog these ones that are in the low ones, like Meta, Silver, and Amazon, once it starts hop frogging these, I don't see it being very long before it jumps frog the rest of these, and then eventually at some point overtake gold. I want to start watching gold's market cap to see what those outflows are from gold. And I know a lot of people are going to start going from gold into Bitcoin. I know a lot of people have already switched from being gold bugs to Bitcoin maxis. So if we take a look at the RSI, we're hovering around 34 on the daily chart. And you can see there's a big level of support around this region right here, which is about that 50,000, a little bit above it. There's a big level of support there. So we'll see if price continues to go down and touch that 50,000 range. When it touched 49,000, it shot right up. And also the RSI had cracked below 30. 30 is considered oversold. Anything over 70 is considered overbought. So based on what I've been kind of saying in my theory, anytime that we kind of reach those oversold areas, that's a good area to buy. And we're kind of getting close to that. So still keep my eye out on that. Some recent news, MasterCard introduced non-custodial Bitcoin debit card denominated in euros. So they're starting to roll out. Do I like it? No. Do I love it? No. Is it good for Bitcoin? I think so. They still have their fees, and they still it's still part of um, that system that Bitcoin is trying to get out of. So, like I said, they got all their fees right here. You got a lot of fees, so that kind of defeats the purpose of what Bitcoin is about. But it's good to see these big companies starting to come around the corner. So I'll be paying attention more into the future and see what better things come. Like I said, this is a very small step. Is it something that I would personally use? No, just because I'm trying to get out of what everything that is a part of the traditional system, or until they implement something that's way better, not so many fees and things like that. Switzerland's fourth largest bank introduces Bitcoin trading services. I forget who it was. I think it was either Michael Saylor or Jeff Booth that talked about banks were going to be one of the big players, that once they came around, it was going to be like the domino effect. So once banks eventually are going to start allowing people to self-custody through, they're going to offer some type of service, probably some type of multi-sig service or something like that. But once banks start to get in, and then once also sovereign wealth funds, which I talked about in a few classes ago, those are two huge players and two big markets. And like I said, it's just going to help the Bitcoin price go up, and it's going to allow high net worth individuals to be able to start allocating some of their funds into Bitcoin. It's just going to make things a lot easier. Bitcoin hash rate has reached all-time highs. It reached above 740 exahashes per second, which is really good. So when the hash rate gets high, that just means there's a lot more miners out there. The system is getting stronger. So the higher the hash rate, that's good for the network. That means the security is getting tougher. More miners are out there, and it doesn't allow any big company to have a monopoly when it comes to mining and things like that. It protects that 51%. So that's what we want. We want that hash rate to continue to keep going high. That means that the security is getting better, more people are out there mining, and no big entity can have a major control over that. Let's see what else we got for the fear and greed index. Right now we're at fear. We're kind of in between that fear and neutral. We've been hovering around fear about the last few weeks. And you know what they say, when people are fearful, be greedy. When people are greedy, be fearful. And if you take a look at the correlation between the fear and greed index and also the RSI, you can see that there's kind of a correlation there. When the RSI tends to be low towards that oversold area, that's when there's a lot of fear. When the RSI tends to be up hot and high, over 70, when it's considered overbought, that's when the greed is. So you can kind of play those two off of each other as well. Let's take a look at the next one. Let's take a look at some of the average mining costs. So right now we're at 72,510. Last week for mining costs, we were at 76,300. So we're down about 4,000 in mining costs. Still keeping an eye out on this to see how long it takes for Bitcoin price to surpass that high of what the mining cost was. And like I said, there was a lady did an article. I need to link that article. I keep forgetting to put it, but there was an article done out there where she was talking about the correlation between the mining costs and the Bitcoin costs. When the mining costs exceeded the Bitcoin costs, that eventually at some point Bitcoin price surpassed that. It reached it and surpassed it. So like I said, we'll keep an eye out on that and see how long it takes for that to happen for this cycle. If we take a look at the Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin holdings, there's been some outflows. Clearly, when price is going down, we're going to see those outflows kind of go down. People panic, people get scared, people want to sell out, people got glass hands, they don't know how to hold and surf through this volatility asset. And so if we take a look at what the holdings were last week, right here, last week we were at 916,000. Right now we're at a little over 900,000. So we're down about 1,600,000 out of the ETF holding. So like I said, I don't recommend people hold their Bitcoin in an ETF, because not your keys, not your coin. So if you don't have your Bitcoin on an actual hardware wallet, a cold wallet, it's not yours. when you have it in a custodian account like an ETF, when you have it on whatever brokerage you use, whether if you use Coinbase, I promote Strike. I really like Strike, but even funds that you keep on there, if anything happens to any of these platforms, there's a good chance that your Bitcoin could be gone forever. So get your assets on a good hardware wallet. Get it, get it on a cold storage. Some people are promoting multi-sig. Like I said, you have to do the research and figure out which hardware wallet works best for you. I personally like Cold Card and I like Bitbox. So that's a company out of Switzerland. So those are two companies that I personally like. They focus on Bitcoin only, and I like Bitcoin only hardware wallets. And I also like Sparrow as well for the laptop. But do your research out there. Don't just take my word. Don't just take someone else's word. You need to go figure out what suits your needs, what works best for you, and why you're going with that, that wallet. Don't just go with it because I say, or, some person with a big social media following says, get this one or whatever. You got to go do your homework. You got to go do your research as to why you're picking that specific wallet. But like I said, it's better than keeping, your Bitcoin on any platform, keeping it in an ETF. You can't access it. It's not truly yours. So keep that in mind. So here's a look at Bitcoin mining over the last week. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let's go to the last 6 months. And as you can see, in the gold is the total hash rate, and in the green is the Bitcoin price. And as you can see, the hash rate has just continued to keep rising up, which is good, strengthening the system. Let's take a look at the last 3 years. It's continuing to keep going up. So that's good. That's what we want to keep seeing. We want this number to keep going up. I encourage you guys to get out there, look at some solo miners, look at some miners, for yourself. I talked about some of the miners that I have going right now. I have one that's a part of a pool and one that's just a solo miner. Once I get back to the States, I want to start adding more and kind of get my mining farm going on. So I'm looking to get maybe 10 to 20. We'll see how it goes. And like I said, it's a fun project. It was fun for me to set up, and I feel like I'm contributing to the system. I'm helping out, and I feel like I'm doing my part. So some recommendations I have for you guys: the Satoshi Nakamoto Institute. So I forget exactly who put this together. And I need to go back and look and see what guys, because I seen someone that was on a podcast and he was talking about it. So that's how I got put onto it. But it's a library that has a lot of work that is either Bitcoin related or some things that Bitcoin was created off of. So for example, the white paper is on here. It's the paper that Satoshi, that he first created, talking about Bitcoin, what Bitcoin was, the creation of it, and how it's going to work. And two that I read recently, I'm just going to go through, and my goal is to eventually read all of these. So far I read B Money. I think his name is We Die or Way Die. Hope, I don't want to butcher anyone's name. And then I also read Design of a Secure Timestamping Service with the Minimal Trust Requirements. So some notes that I took on those. For B Money, it was one of the earliest proposals for decentralized digital currency. In it, DAI outlines a system where participants maintain a ledger of transactions which operate without the need for a centralized authority. Sound familiar? The currency would be created through computational work similar to modern proof of work systems like Bitcoin. And contracts would be enforced by participants with the ability to dispute transactions based on collective consensus. The proposal set foundational concepts for the future development of decentralized cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. So it was kind of really interesting to read this paper. And also, Satoshi actually reached out to this individual twice to cite his work in the white paper, which is really cool to go back and read some of Satoshi's emails, see some of the people that he reached out to. But reading this is like knowing what we have now with Bitcoin. This was Bitcoin before Bitcoin. So this We Die or Way Die, however you pronounce his name, was really close, right? He was really close. He was a decade and a half, or about a decade too early. And I don't know what else he didn't have, or what he couldn't put together. Everything that I keep reading, they talk about how the double spin was the main issue that Satoshi was able to crack. and figure out compared to all these other works. Because I've actually read a few other works as well that are on there, but these are just the two I want to talk about right now. But it's really interesting to see that people were already trying to figure this out before we are where we at now. The other one that I read was design of a secure timestamping service with minimal trust requirements. You can see all the names of the authors from there. I don't even want to butcher anyone's name, but these individuals put this paper out in 1999, a year after B-Money. It was a proposal of cryptographic solution to ensure secure, verifiable timestamps with minimal reliance on trusted third parties. The system uses hash functions and digital signatures to create a chain of timestamps where each timestamp depends on the previous one, ensuring that tampering with the record would be easily detectable. This method minimizes the trust placed in any single entity, as the verification process can be distributed across multiple independent participants. The concept laid the groundwork for secure digital record keeping. It was influential in the development of blockchain technology of what we have today. So putting those two together was kind of like a little treat, going a blast into the past, reading those two papers and putting them together. It's like, wow, people were very close. And so, it makes you wonder about Satoshi, and I'm sure there's going to be some other interesting things when I go through and read a lot of those other papers. But anyways, so like I said, check those out. They're all free. You can go through. The only thing it's going to cost you is your time to go through and read a lot of these papers that led up to what we have now in Bitcoin. A documentary that I recommend for you guys to check out is this Banking on Africa, the Bitcoin Revolutionary. It's only a 47-minute documentary. It gives you a good insight to how important Bitcoin is for people outside of the United States, right? The United States, we kind of are spoiled, and a lot of us don't know how good we have it unless you're a traveler, unless you might have family in some of these other countries, or unless you just been to a lot of these places and see how some of these people are living. So I don't want to spoil this documentary for you guys, but there's a certain part where people get really excited. They're in a building, they get really excited just to get something so basic to what all of us have in our homes and our schools and things like that. So it's around a school. So check out this documentary. Let me know what you guys think. Really short documentary, really cool. And it's good to see the innovation happening and the things that people are able to do just off the power of having Bitcoin. So it's more of just a store of value. It's more of people, it's a way for people to be able to connect, be able to send money, be able to save money in places where most people aren't even banked. I forget what the exact number is, but there's like over 2 billion people that aren't even banked and don't even have access to banking, or banking is just corrupt. So go take a look at that documentary when you get a chance. Really cool documentary, and it just is an eye opener to see what Bitcoin is doing for people across the world. And my DCA, my dollar cost averaging journey. So there's a calculator that you can go on. It's a Bitcoin dollar cost averaging calculator, and you can put in any time frame and any amount based on a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you can see what your returns would have been today if you would have just dollar cost average either once a week, once, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever your case is. So I'm kind of just being a guinea pig. I want to do this at least for an entire year. I'm putting $100 into Bitcoin every single Monday. I'm using Strike. They have a feature to where if you do an auto DCA where you link your bank account and you say, okay, you pick the time frame you want, but I picked weekly on Mondays. So every Monday, $100 gets taken out of my bank account, and it auto purchases Bitcoin at whatever the price is at that moment. So far in this journey, I've used $600. I've converted $600 into Bitcoin. I've accumulated this amount of Bitcoin based on Bitcoin's price today, 53,970. That value in dollars is worth $536.79. So if you're measuring in dollars, or however you measure whatever your currency is, so it's down right now 10.5% based on what Bitcoin price is today. So after tomorrow, today is Sunday, so tomorrow will be Monday, my auto DCA will hit and I'll get some Bitcoin at. Hopefully Bitcoin stays around this price by the time, hopefully nothing happens between now and tomorrow. No big news, so where it just shoots up, but I'm going to get in around this price as well. So it's really interesting that the last part is 94. I wonder if that has anything to do with the DCA happening at the same time. So I don't know. But anyways, that's where I'm at with that. Some other updates on my fold card from last week until this week. I'm up 85 sats up to 905. If you aren't familiar with the fold card, I talk about it in some previous videos. The Fountain app, I'm up 10 more sats up to 169. I've actually been kind of slacking a little bit on Fountain. So I wonder if that has anything to do with how much stats I'm earning by listening. I haven't been as consistent, but I'm gonna get back on it. I've been using I've been kind of bouncing back between YouTube and Fountain. No particular reason. Just some of the people that I listen to, they use graphs and charts, and I like to see, I'm a visual person, I like to see that. And on the Fountain, it's just audio only. So they'll be talking about something. So I'll start out on Fountain, and then they'll be like, look at this graph, and then I'll switch to YouTube and I'll stay on YouTube. So that's why. For the Sailor Academy, I've completed up to the first part, and I'm about to take the test. Both my miners are still running smooth. No solo hit yet, but if I do, you guys will be one of the first to know. And I can still access my node through Tor, but I still can't add any apps. So I haven't really been putting too much attention to that or trying to mess with that at all. I might just have to take that L and just have to wait till I get back to be able to do anything. So I'll try a few more times and I'll see if I can find anything out there to help me out. But as of now, that's where I'm at with that. So I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you for tapping in for those of you that have, and I'll see you guys again next week.